let's make a microwavable neck wrap perfect for Arthritis Awareness Month. Welcome, I do sewing and DIY related content, and today we are making a neck wrap perfect for if you have arthritis in your neck. Now there is a full free pattern piece available for this that I will include in the link below in case you would like to make this yourself. Now if you click that link, you'll see that it's going to take you to a blog post, and then you'll see like the pattern piece. This is completely free, so when you get to those pattern pieces, you can cut these out. There's 3 pieces. You can see that there are these dark black triangles on the bottom, and we are just going to be cutting it out. I like to keep the bottom piece of the paper, like I do not cut that out, and then we will just be matching up those dark black triangles together, and then you create one long rectangle. Once you have your pattern piece in place, you can then take your fabric and you are just going to be folding this over so that you get 2 pieces. Now I'm going to be using this cotton. For this, I highly recommend using cotton because this will be going into your microwave. I found cotton works the best for this, so as you can see, I've just taken this, folded over, and I'm placing my pattern piece on top. And the idea is that we're doing this so that we get 2 long rectangles. So one will be the front and then one will be the back of our neck heat wrap. Once you have all of that done and you have it cut out, it is then time to begin transferring over our markings. The way that this pattern works is you have these little triangles, and these are different markings that we want to bring over with us when we do the sewing. Now I have marked them on both sides. You are welcome to do this, or you can just pick one side. I more did it in case you wanted to sort of mark where they were all the way across, and then there are one at the top and the bottom, which is more just for making sure everything lines up nice and evenly. Once you have all of those marked, you can then take the pattern piece off, and now it is time for us to begin the pinning up process to sew this. So to do this, we are going to be sewing one long edge and 2 short edges, and then on our other edge, we are going to be pinning up between those markings. So sewing some, leaving a gap, sewing, leaving a gap, sewing, leaving a gap, and then sewing. This is going to allow us little openings to be able to add rice so that we can make this be very like an evenly distributed rice for the heat wrap. As you can see here, I'm going to be starting sewing all the way through, and then I'm going to be doing that process of sewing some, leaving a gap, sewing, leaving a gap. Now for my sewing machine, I am just using a regular straight stitch. I have not really done anything too crazy on here. We're just going to be doing our seam, being sure to back stitch at the beginning, and then I'm just going to go all the way through sewing the short edge. And then once I get to the corners, I am going to pivot. So I am going to go all the way to the corner, put my needle in, and then lift up the presser foot, put the presser foot back down, and then continue on my way sewing. For this, your seam allowance can be really whatever you would like it to be. As you can see, when I got to that first double pin, I stopped, and then I'm starting again, and then I'm going to stop, and then move to the second double pin, and I'm going to continue that process until I get to the last double pin, and then I'm just going to be sewing all the way to the corner, doing the pivot, and then just continuing sewing on that very long straight edge. And then my neck wrap, the main sewing portion, is complete. So now I'm just going to go through, I'm going to trim off some of these little corners just to make it a little bit easier for myself when it comes time to turning. But because we left all those gaps, this should be a pretty easy item to turn right side out. And then I'm just going to pick one of the holes that I had and just turn this. So push the fabric through the opening, and then once you have it all turned nice and right side out, we are going to actually press this so that it can get nice and smooth. And part of the reason we're pressing it is because we're going to be doing some top stitching, and pressing this out will allow it to be a little bit easier to top stitch. So once you have that all done, it is now time for us to do the little top stitching portions. So basically we're just going to be sewing lines across to make little, you could think of it as like buckets or compartments that our rice is going to be going into. I found the best way to do this is wherever the gap was, so where you had that opening, just find the midpoint or the exact middle of that gap and then put a pin. So I just went through each of these gaps. I then just marked where that pin would go. And then you're going to have 2 portions in the middle that don't have a gap, and you can also put a pin there. For this, it is very flexible. It can be however many openings you would like it to have. The big thing is you just want to be sure that wherever you're sewing a line, there is an opening on either side so you can get the rice to go in. So the first one I did at about 2 inches in the middle, so then I adjusted if necessary, and then I marked a pin, and then I did put a pin on the other side as well. You could have also drawn a line using fabric chalk or a fabric pen, And then I'm just going to be repeating this process for each of those openings where we had left that gap. So making sure that each one is exactly what measurement I would like it to be. If you're somebody who likes this to be very exact, you could definitely do that. So I started off being around 4.5 inches, leaving, so every 4.5 inches I put a new pin, being sure that there was always that opening for the fabric, and I noticed that there was, so you can see this is 4.5, 4.5, and then I'm going to put another one. This one's around 4 inches or so. On mine ended up having about 6 compartments, so I have 5 lines that I'm going to be sewing up. And then at my sewing machine, this is just a straight stitch. Be sure to backstitch at the beginning or the end. If for some reason you don't backstitch, at least not your threads. Since this is top stitching and you're able to see it, you just want to be sure that that is a very nice and secure stitch. Once you go through and add all of those lines, it is then time for us to actually begin adding the rice to our neck wrap. So for this, here is what my neck wrap currently looks like. Now, how much rice you want to add is really up to you. I got a bag that was 1 pound of rice and evenly distributed it across the entire neck wrap. I think you could have added maybe a little bit more if you wanted to, but my big thing was, since it's going around your neck, if you're wearing it, your neck is sore, you may not want it to be too heavy. Now you are going to want to make a funnel, so I just took some paper, wrapped it up, and then once I got the funnel shape that I liked, added some tape, and then very slowly started to pour my rice in. Now I did not actually measure how much rice was going into each little compartment. If you want to do that, you could get that exact, but I just left it more of how much I thought felt good for each of those compartments. And then I just repeated this for my entire neck wrap of adding rice here or there. Sometimes it did spill a little bit, but overall it wasn't too bad. So here's what my neck wrap looks like. Now we are finally at the last step, and each of those openings that we did to add the rice in, we now need to close them up. So specifically, you want to take a needle and thread and just go through and sew up each of these openings. Now you could have done this on your sewing machine as well. I just found that the needle and thread made it look a little bit nicer doing that hand stitch. My biggest piece of advice though with this, and I should have mentioned it at the beginning, just be sure you use 100% cotton thread. Since this is going in the microwave, you don't want it to melt or burn at any point. So here is what our neck wrap looks like. I think it turned out really nicely. It feels really nice too. Now, as somebody who has arthritis, I really wanted to do some sort of sewing project for Arthritis Awareness Month, and I'm even going to have this video include a little giving section that YouTube will allow you to donate to the Arthritis Foundation if that is something of interest to you. If it doesn't work, I will also just include the Arthritis Foundation's website. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you want even more information on how to make one of these neck wraps or on any type of like a heating pad, I will include a link to my heart-shaped heating pad, and there is that full Etsy pattern available for it that you can get, and then this one does have those free pattern pieces if that is something of interest. Now, when it does come time to microwaving these, I find that it does vary by microwave, but my biggest advice would be to start with 30 seconds and then see how warm it is. So I found for mine around 45 seconds was the correct timing, but you could always do 30 seconds and then do another 30 seconds if you wanted it even warmer. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next. Thanks for watching.